The Reigate Squires, featuring Zephyr Cochrane as Sherlock Holmes and Tom Cochrane as Dr. Watson. Adapted for the radio by Zephyr Cochrane. Let me tell you about one of my recent adventures with Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Greetings, Watson. So glad you could make it. The Inspector and I are about to...
Hold on, Holmes. I've just arrived.
Right. Apologies. You'll have to forgive me. My mind has been somewhat perplexed by this rather odd case.
But what, pray tell, is this case? Your telegram mentioned a murder?
Murder most foul, Watson, and I shall require your assistance to bring the murderer to justice.
Very well, but...
Perfect, so let us go meet with Inspector Forrester at the Cunninghams.
But you still haven't told me what any of this is about, Holmes.
Always one to worry, Watson, but fear not. As we walk down, I shall recount the events that have happened today. Now, as you know, I did not come here for a case, but to visit my old comrade, Colonel Hayters, who told me of a recent burglary at the Acton estate.
Ah, the Actons. I have heard of them before. They are well known for their long-standing legal dispute with the Cunninghams regarding ownership of half the estate currently in the Cunninghams' hands.
Watson, you are proving yourself already. Now, one morning, the Colonel's butler brought news of a murder at the Cunninghams' estate. The victim, William Kerwin, the coachman. With all haste, I made my way to the Cunningham estate, where I found that Inspector Forrester had taken charge of the case. He showed me a physical clue, a torn piece of paper found in Kerwin's hand with a few interesting words in it. It seems that this note was delivered to Kerwin the day before his death, and that Kerwin had burned the envelope.
What were the words?
I have it here. I requested it for inspection.
I can only discern the words 12:15 and a few other unintelligible words.
Yes, and it was at 12:15 when Kerwin died. It seems to me that it was written there to specify a time for the meeting.
Perhaps.
I was able to find out through a few interviews with the Cunninghams that the following events occurred. The Cunninghams, elder and son Alec, were both still awake, one getting into bed and one smoking in his dressing room. They heard Kerwin cry out for help, and Mr. Alec ran down to see what the matter was. When he came down, the back door was open, and the two men were wrestling. One of them fired a shot, the other dropped, and the murderer rushed across the garden and over the hedge. Mr. Cunningham, looking out of his bedroom, saw the fellow as he gained the road, but lost sight of him at once. The description both gave was of a man of medium build and dressed in dark clothing.
Interesting. I see that we are arriving. And there's the Inspector.
Greetings, Holmes. Inspector Forrester here. It is my great pleasure to be working with you on this case.
And I you. Now, Watson, it was on these steps that in front of the door that young Mr. Cunningham stood and saw the two struggling just where we are. When Kerwin fell, Mr. Alec ran out and knelt beside him. The ground is very hard, you see, and there are no marks to guide us.
Speak of the devil, why here come the Cunninghams now?
Well, if it isn't the great Detective Holmes, you Londoners never give up. You don't seem to be very quick, after all.
Well, you must give us a little time.
You'll want it. Why, I don't see that we have any clue at all.
You might be right, after all. I'm still quite new to the case.
Well, shall we step inside?
Certainly. While I'm here, I would like to first verify one point.
What is it?
Well, it seems to me that it is just possible that the arrival of this poor fellow Kerwin was not before, but after the entrance of the burglar into the house. You appear to take it for granted that, although the door was forced, the robber never got in.
I fancy that is quite obvious. Why, my son Alec had not yet gone to bed, and he would certainly have heard anyone moving about.
Your lights were on, no?
Undoubtedly.
This robber really is a strange one. Is it not extraordinary that a burglar, and a burglar who had had some previous experience, should deliberately break into a house at a time when he could see from the lights that two of the family were still afoot?
Indeed it is.
And also, look at the queer lot of things which he took from Acton's. What was it? A ball of string, a leather weight, and I don't know what other odds and ends.
Well, we are quite in your hands, Mr. Holmes. Anything which you or the Inspector may suggest will most certainly be done.
In the first place, I should like you to offer a reward. coming from yourself, for the officials may take a little time before they would agree upon the sum, and these things cannot be done too promptly. I have jotted down the form here, if you would not mind signing it. £50 was quite enough, I thought.
I would willingly give 500. This is not quite correct, however.
I wrote it rather hurriedly.
You see, you begin, whereas at about 1:15 on Tuesday morning an attempt was made, and so on. It was at 11:45, as a matter of fact. No matter, I will correct it. Get it printed as soon as possible. I think your idea is an excellent one.
Yes, thank you.
Holmes, would you like to have a bit of a rest? You seem a bit tired and confused. You must forgive my friend. He had originally come here for a rest after a rather strenuous case in France.
Yes, I believe it would do me some benefit.
As a matter of fact, we were just about to have lunch. Care to join us? Certainly.
I cannot truly express my thanks. This meal is wonderful.
I'm glad to hear that. So, how is the case progressing? Do you have any important clues? We may be able to assist you. There's only one. We thought if we could only find the rest of a note that was ripped from Kieran's hand, the case would be solved. Aye, a note? Well, we should certainly keep a lookout for that.
Indeed, but not right now. I'm afraid that I must excuse myself to the bathroom.
Ah, I just remembered a crucial point that I could have verified at the door. Please excuse me. There's no need to accompany me. I'm feeling much better.
What kind of evidence do you think Holmes will find? Maybe it is the note.
I think that it would be something that the burglar left.
Watson! Help!
That is Holmes's voice. We must go.
Help!
This is strange. Why is Holmes's voice coming from Mr. Alec's room?
What on earth is happening? They are wrestling each other. I must help my son.
Alright, you lot, stop.
Arrest these men, Inspector.
On what charge?
That of murdering their coachman, William Kerwin.
What? Oh, come now, Mr. Holmes. I'm sure you don't really mean to.
Tut, man. Look at their faces.
I have no alternative, Mr. Cunningham. I trust that this all may prove to be an absurd mistake, but you can see that Would you drop it?
Keep that. You will find it useful in the trial. But this is what we really want.
The remainder of the note.
Precisely.
And what was it?
Well, I was sure it must be. I'll make the whole matter clear to you presently. I think, Watson, that you might return now, and I will be with you again in an hour at the furthest. The inspector and I must have a word with the suspects, but you will certainly see me back at lunchtime.
This is extraordinary, Holmes.
I will now lay an account of this case in its due order, showing you the various points which guided me in my decision.
Very well.
The first thing I knew, after having gathered much information, was that I would have to get my hands on the missing part of that note. I was certain that Alec had torn it out of the dead man's hand, because if Alec's narrative was correct, then the assailant would not have been able to grab the note as he instantly fled. The only question was whether it was still in the house. It was worth an effort to find out, and for that object we all met up at the house. When I arrived, I managed, by a device which had perhaps some little merit of ingenuity, to get old Cunningham to write the word 12, so that I might compare it with the 12 upon the paper.
Oh, what an ass I have been!
I could see that you were commiserating with me over my weakness. I was sorry to cause you the sympathetic pain which I know that you felt. We then ate lunch with the Cunninghams, where I was sure that they would at some point ask if we had any clue. I was even more sure that you would answer by saying that we needed the remainder of the note, which told them that a part of the note was in our possession, and that if they removed it, then there would be no strong evidence against them. Mr. Alec, after considering this, quickly excused himself, followed by myself. I followed him to his room, where he revealed the hiding spot, his dressing gown. I immediately went for it, and as you know, we started wrestling, and he would have, I verily believe, murdered me then and there but for your prompt and friendly aid. They saw that I must know about it, you see, and the sudden change from absolute security to complete despair made them perfectly desperate.
Marvellous.
I had a little talk with old Cunningham afterwards as to the motive of the crime. When he saw that the case against him was so strong, he lost all heart and made a clean breast of everything. It seems that Cohen had secretly followed his two masters on the night when they made their raid upon Mr. Axon's, and having thus got them into his power, proceeded, under threats of exposure, to levy blackmail upon them. Mr. Alec, however, was a dangerous man to play games of that sort with, and Kerwin was decoyed up and shot. Had they only got the whole of the note and paid a little more attention to detail in the accessories, it is very possible that suspicion might never have been aroused.
Amazing!
And now, Watson, I think that this case in the country has been a distinct success, and I shall certainly return much invigorated to Baker Street tomorrow.